Hey, this is Frontosa Cichlids and more. In this video we're looking at raising the Frontosa bar. How are we going to do that? We're going to raise the pH. Now let me tell you a little story why I have not used a buffer in the past. I used to add buffering to my Frontosas, and I had a great Frontosa called Mo. I had Big Mama and Mo. You can watch that video right up there. I got a little card I got going on. Mo was an outstanding male Frontosa. Awesome. Very healthy. Doing great. I did water changes on his aquarium, and the pH dramatically changed quickly. Now I tried to rectify that by doing more water changes, but it did not help. Whatever affected Mo, he did not recover from. So I ended up losing Mo because of a pH drastic change. So I decided not to use a buffering for my Frontosas, because if you did a water change and you take water out and it's a certain pH, you're adding water back in. It does need to be the same, but how do you know if all the buffering has dissolved, so forth? Anyways, at that particular time I decided it was not worth it to change the pH using a pH buffer. But now, since I'm doing this aquarium here behind me without water changes, and you think, oh my gosh, what is he talking about, no water changes? Well, let me tell you a story. For 6 months, okay, 6 months, there was no issues in this aquarium. No nitrate problems, no nitrite, no ammonia problems, no issues at all. The fish were doing great. They're doing healthy, look great. I've made plenty of videos on during that time. Everybody thought the fish were doing great. The only issue I had was pH. So to solve this issue, yes, you can use baking salts, baking powder or whatever, but what I'm going to use is the Cichlid lake salts. It's not too expensive, and plus it has minerals and stuff that your baking powder doesn't have in it. So I'm going to gradually increase the pH to this aquarium. I know for a fact, this aquarium was doing really good as far as no nitrate. Well, there's a little bit of nitrates, minimum, very minimum, very healthy nitrates. So anyways, I'm going to be raising the pH using this, and then keeping it stable by the substrate buffering I also have here. So that way, any of the issues I face, which the only issues I faced in the past was pH issues, will be solved by the buffering of the Cichlid lake salt. Now, Aquarium is a great brand. I really like their products. Yes, you can use like baking soda and so forth, but it's got minerals in here that the baking soda doesn't have. It's not too expensive, and since I'm not going to be doing, actually on this particular aquarium, not going to be doing water changes, then I won't be losing the buffering. There shouldn't be a drastic change in pH in any way. I will be monitoring this very closely on the pH. The pH is very important to your Frontosas and to cichlids in general. Sometimes you may have issues where, and if you're in a city and they may have a pH drop, the city water supply could have a pH drop, and it can really upset your fish. So you need to check it more often than you think, because then you have big storms, like some of you may have been disrupted by the hurricanes we've had. Those bring in different waters that you normally don't have in your water supply, and can actually change your pH. So it's very important to check it during those times. And then you have some people live up in the mountains, and maybe a snow melt off. There's just different reasons why your pH of your water supply can change, which in the past I didn't think I needed to check it, because basically my pH runs at 7.8. It's pretty stable, no issues, but who knows, one day there may be an issue. And if you're in an environment that could change drastically because of storms, because of a city water supply or snow melt off, you might want to think about checking your pH. So let me go ahead and show you the fish. They're looking really good. I'll be gradually changing the pH up with this and monitoring closely on the nitrates and so forth. Like I say, there's not going to be any issues in 6 months. Now I started this fresh new. No issues in 3 weeks so far. So we'll be looking at that. Now one thing I have done differently than previously, which actually should make a better difference than my previous run of 6 months without water changes. I only feed these guys once every other day. I feed them raw frozen shrimp. So we'll be seeing some of that feeding action going, see how they eat. Something you might want to consider. You know, a lot of people have pets, you know, cats, dogs. They spend a lot of money on them. It's not too bad of an idea to spend a little extra money on the food when you might have to do less maintenance. You might have to clean out your filter less, you know, amount of times, less gravel vacuuming, less water changes. Especially during the flu season, you may get the flu and say, hey, I'm not doing a water change. A lot of times there's certain jobs that you have to work, you know, more overtime, more hours. You don't have time, do not feel like doing water changes. So even though this may not be something that you want to do, but you might want to extend the amount of time that you can go without a water change, this might be an idea. But I am using a mountain filtration, which I've not had to change in a year, not cleaned it. No issues with that. I use 2 lights on an algae scrubber. You can look at that in my other videos. No issues. But I only feed once every 2 days, and that makes a huge difference in your waste buildup and all the maintenance you have to do for your aquarium. So before you consider doing anything like this, think about some of the steps I've done before you even consider that. But you can also extend the amount of time to go without a water change, because hey, it's flu season, it's Christmas, there could be more overtime for you to have to work. You may have to go longer without a water change. So let's look at these fish. Now the colors are coming really out. I would like to have the camera where I could film them probably before I actually get up there in front of them and talk, because the purples, the blues, and what I've not seen a purple color coming out until recently. So the pH change, the water quality change has really dramatically improved the coloration. Plus, these guys haven't been in here for about 3 weeks. Because I had dragon bloods in here for quite a while, which was way more fish than this. And so the Frontosa are adapting very well to the change, looking good. So let's take a small pan of the aquarium. Now there's been some dramatic events in my Frontosa aquariums. Not this one in particular, but in another aquarium, which I didn't think was going to be as easy as it was. There was actually an overcrowded aquarium that one of the Frontosas mated with another Frontosa. So actually breeding can take place in this aquarium where I thought the Frontosas were too slow and other fish would come up there and get their eggs. Well, surprisingly, it will work. So if you have a colony aquarium, you still can breed your fish and it won't be an issue. Where I thought you needed to mostly breed in pairs, you can breed in a colony and there not be as many issues as you might have thought. So I do have an announcement for the Frontosas. I think it'll be exciting for a lot of people. I have had videos in the past on raising baby Frontosas. So I have one that's holding. There's only one project I've really been going for that has not been successful yet with my Frontosa changer. But since I have one that's holding, I am going to be raising some more Frontosas. I've changed my mind. and I'm going to have it in a different setup. It'll be a better setup for raise the Frontosas, and I'll be going over some topics, and we'll be discussing how to raise them. I'll be taking special attention to the pH. I'll be using the buffering substrate, a lot of different things that I will cover in those videos, so you want to check those out. Now, I promise you, when I showed this aquarium, I was going to show you a couple of things from my past video. One of them is a side shot, so you can see how the water quality is from the side. So let's look at that. So this is the side shot. Now I'm going to focus in on try to get different depths, because I can't really tell as well on my screen whether it's showing the back of the filtration, the mat filtration as well. So we'll come in and out, get the fish focused. So I think it's going to be right about there to get the best focus. You see the alpha male here looking, he's wanting food, and we're going to take a minute to show some shrimp feeding. It's one of the best foods that I recommend now. I used to go for artificial crab meat, but you can get this at any grocery store, because if you're like me, you may not be near Nice or any fish store at all, so you can get some good fish food from your grocery store. So let's check out some shrimp feeding. So I'm going to put some raw deveined shrimp in there. I don't thaw them out anymore because, one, I forget sometimes, and then they may be in a bowl somewhere, and then they'll I forget about them, and then they'll smell. So I just go ahead and throw them in. They thaw out pretty quick in the water. You see the Frontosas are not waiting on them to thaw out. They just go ahead and attack them, and they really munch down on them. Let's get a little zoom in a little bit better on them. They go to town on them. There's a lot less waste when you use the shrimp, because they eat it all. And also in this aquarium I have synodontices. So any shrimp that somehow is left, synodontices get and eat up. So that's really good. I really like the synodontices. They look good. They're from Lake Tanganyika, and you know, hopefully I'm going to be raising them soon in this aquarium if I actually have a male and a female. Going to town on them. If you haven't tried feeding the raw deveined shrimp from your grocery store, you should try it. Now here's this cichlid lake salt right here. Let me just focus on it a little bit better. Now that's what I'm going to use to raise the bar on the Frontosas, raise the pH, get everything going in my Frontosa world. You can get this from almost all the local fish stores usually have this. It's by Seacham. You also, if you're not, where you can get it to a local fish store, you can get it from Amazon. It's got some pretty good prices. It's about $20 for 2.2 pounds. It's got directions on how much to put in there. It'll go up to, let me look on the bottle, up to 2,700 gallons of buffering capacity from this container. So, thanks again for watching. This has been Frontosa, Cichlids, and more. Until next time.